Hi guys, it's Kasha. Welcome to the channel, to my Wonderland, and to today's coffee time. This coffee time is going to be a bit different because I'm going to be giving you some of my ideas and thoughts about the new It movie. So grab your cup of coffee and feel free to join me. Alright, so let's start by the basics. I read the book and I reread Stephen King's book. And in between going to watch the new movie 2 times. I went to watch the new movie twice because I loved it so much, and I think Andrea Bocelli has made a great job. It is not easy to adapt such a book. It's a huge book and there are so many things in the book. So it was really hard, I guess, for him to decide what goes in and out into the movie, and I think he did a great job in general. And that he tried to put a lot of little hints from the book for the real Stephen King fans, hardcore book fans, and I really appreciate that as a fan of Stephen King and his works. So in general, the new It movie from Andy Muschietti is great. It is not easy to adapt a Stephen King book. Stephen King books are full of content, character development, really weird things that happen, really uncomfortable things that happen, and it is not easy to bring it on the screen. I'm aware of that, but I love the fact that he took a complete new turn into the movie and decided to split it into two, and decided to make the kids and the adults separately. I think that was smart. And also I appreciate all the hints that he did from all the things that are in the book that we are not able to see really fully developed in the movie, because it is just impossible to put everything in one movie or even in two. So I appreciate all of the book kind of Easter eggs that he left there in the movie for the real fans. So basically, the main story is about Derry, a town in Maine, and it is kind of like a haunted town, and weird things happen every 27 years. Basically, the weird thing that happened is that one way or another, people die. Mostly kids disappear or are killed, and basically everything is based on this entity called It. And Andy Muschietti decided to grab Pennywise as most of the face of It for the whole movie, but that is not his only face. While the book starts on the 50s, the movie starts straight ahead on the 80s. That's the first thing I noticed in the cinema. When I watched the movie the first time, I was like, wait a second, we're in the 80s, but the book is on the 50s. And this has a huge impact in Mike's story. But more to that later. So basically, our story is based on a group of kids that find themselves in Derry at the wrong time, and that is when It awakes again to feed. The kids have very different personalities, and nearly everybody can relate to one of the kids, and they're kind of like, the underdogs, the misfits, and they are calling themselves the Losers Club. Let's go a little bit more into detail into every character. Let's start with Bill, which it is going to be the writer character. And why do I say the writer character? Is because Stephen King portrays one of the characters in nearly all of his books as a writer, and it is his way of writing himself into his stories. So Bill, as an adult, is gonna turn into a writer, and the Bill that we get to know, it is a Bill that is very affected about the loss of his brother at the beginning of the book and the movie, and he has a stuttering problem that gets worse once Georgie dies. The way of coping with his stutter is repeating a sentence that helps him stop the stuttering. This helps him to focus and is one of the things that helps him face it. Then we have Richie, and we all love his humor in the movie, and he is also like that in the book, and because he talks so much sometimes and he can stop, there is this line that they tell him in the book all the time, which is beep beep Richie, and in the movie you can see Pennywise saying it to him. Also, in the book, actually Richie is afraid of wolves and not of clowns as in the movie. So in the book he goes to the movies and he sees a movie about a werewolf, and that is why in his mind he has this fear about the werewolves. Very intelligently, Andy Muschietti put a very slight couple of seconds reference to that werewolf. And it is the scene when they are in this haunted house and Pennywise is terrorizing the kids, and through his gloves you can see this wolf's claw that comes out of it. This is one of the scenes that makes people that love the book cheer inside. Then we have Ben, that it is pretty basically like the Ben we know in the book. He's very shy, he's the new guy and he's being teased and bullied, but in the book it's even a little bit harder. Let's go to Stan. So basically Stan is Jewish in the book as well as in the movie, but the fact that he's Jewish doesn't have this huge importance in the book as it has in the movie. They decided to develop this whole story about his dad, you know, being the rabbi, and that he has to learn this song and everything. And that is not in the book, but I didn't mind at all because I loved it and I kind of helped for the character development. Also, he in the book originally is afraid of birds and not afraid of this kind of like creepy creature that comes out of this portrait. But that was so freaky in the movie. It's like so weird that I don't mind at all that they decided to include this. Let's go to Mike, which is a more complicated character since the Mike from the movie has some differences from the Mike from the book. Basically, there is no reference at all about these guns and this sheep in the book, which I really appreciate. And it's one of the, maybe the only thing that I did not like about the movie, because everything that has to do with animal abuse or killing animals, it's not something I'm happy about. And you know, if it would be in the book, because there's something really messed up in the book with animals, that would be something different. But this thing about the sheep is not in the book, so I would have left it out. So basically, the Mike that we get to know in the book is actually the one that does all the research about the past history of Derry, and not Ben. Like, we see Ben going to the library and find out stuff and, you know, figure out everything that happened to those kids with the Easter eggs and everything. But that does not really happen in the book, since it's always Mike, the one that goes and does the research. And he also writes some kind of diary that tells us more about the story of Derry. I believe it was in the 30s, you know, about his father. And we're missing all of that in the new movie, which is kind of a shame. Basically, the thing is, because Andy Muschietti decided to make the new It in the 80s, it is harder to be faithful to the Mike in the book, because the book is based on the 50s. The kids are kids in the 50s. So racism was a way bigger thing back then. Obviously, racism has been a huge deal throughout history, and it still is, sadly. But, you know, you could understand more the big importance of racism back in the 50s. So basically the story of Mike is his dad belonged to the Air Force, and after serving they landed in Derry and they started this kind of club because the white people didn't want them in their club. So they decided to start their own, you know, with their jazz music and their games, and they created this kind of super awesome place where they could just hang out. They decided to call it the Black Spot, and a lot of white people decided that they wanted to join it because they thought it was fun, so they used to go there as well. And there were some people in town that you could say they were kind of like a Ku Klux Klan kind of thing, and they were against the black people. And so one day they decided to go and close all the doors from the Black Spot and set it on fire. So basically everyone inside died, nearly everybody, and two of the people that died were Mike's parents. And this connects to the reference of the door that he sees with the burning black hands coming out of the door. This reference comes from that fire that happened in the Black Spot. So if you were a fan of the book, you probably got that reference. And after the fire, actually, it turns into this huge big bird that people see. And this is why Mike's story connects to Henry's story. Henry's dad is William, the guy that helped to set the Black Spot on fire. And he passed all this hate for the black people to his son Henry. And this is why in the movie they are kind of enemies. but the book goes way farther and they use the N-word to call the black people all the time, and it kind of intensifies everything. Even in the book, Henry poisons Mike's dog and everything just because he's black and all of that. So it's kind of like a little bit harsh on this topic, which makes sense because remember, in the book we are in the 50s where racism was still a huge deal. And now let's go to Beverly, which is our beautiful girl from the Losers Club. Basically the same weird, uncomfortable relationship that she has with her dad in the movie is what we get in the book. However, in the book, her mom is still living with them and she always asks her if her father is being, inappropriate with her, which puts on doubt, if he has ever, touched her inappropriately in the book. And it is one of the things with Beverly where you really notice that this is a Stephen King, 100%. This weird relationship with her dad, the way he talks to her and calls her my little girl, and the way he kind of tries to keep her for himself and doesn't want, her hanging around with other boys. This kind of fight that they have between each other, this kind of putting the person watching the scene in a really uncomfortable position that is really 100% Stephen King. We also have our Eddie, and poor Eddie, he has also kind of like a weird relationship with his mom, and basically his mom is a control freak and she's scared, of losing her little boy, and he tries to keep him always controlled, and she makes him believe that he is sick, and she has all these kind of hundreds of medicines home, and basically he figures out in the book as well as in the movie that what he has been receiving were placebos and not real medicine, or gazebos as he wants to call them. Another thing about the Eddie in the movie and the Eddie in the books is the way he breaks his arm. We can see in the movie that while they are being chased by Pennywise in the haunted house, he falls down and he breaks his arm. However, in the book, he breaks his arm while he's trying to get away from Henry and the other guys that are bullying him, and that's when he gets hurt. And then we have our little Georgie, which, poor little Georgie. In the beginning of the movie, as well as in the beginning of the book, we already see his death scene. And I cannot emphasize enough how much I appreciate the death scene of Georgie in this movie, because people don't like really to hurt or kill kids in movies, and it's part of the story. You have to do it. And Stephen King is very graphic, when he writes these kind of pretty things. And when I saw the scene in the movie the first time in the theaters, the movie already sold, like it was sold to me. I was like, I'm sold, I love this, this is gonna be amazing. Just seeing the scene, I was like, this is gonna be awesome. Because the moment where he rips off his arm and he's like trying to crawl away from Pennywise, that is just gold. That is awesome scene, and I appreciate it so much that he did not take back on the gore in that one. The Henry in the book is way scarier, way more uncomfortable, despicable, abusive character than the one that we see in the movie. I believe the one in the movie is a little bit kind of like a diet version of Henry, but the character still works and the actor does a really great job. I just think that he should have been way scarier and way more serious than the one that we see in the movie, which in the movie it just seems to be like this lost teenager that still is really scared of his dad. Like I said earlier, I really appreciate that Andy Muschietti has put so many like Easter eggs from the book, and also there is another Easter egg from the TV series of It in the movie. I love the fact that he made sure that everybody saw that Bill's bike was called Silver. Because in the book, It's mentioned all the time, and it actually comes back when they are adults. Also, in the clown scene where Richie goes into this room full of clowns, which is an awesome scene, even though, remember, in the book he was afraid of the werewolf and not of clowns. However, this scene works perfectly and it's beautiful, it's beautifully filmed, and there is a clown on the left side, which is a kind of like a hint on the Pennywise that Tim Curry portrayed on the TV series. One of the things that they decided not to do in the movie, and that I understand why, it is the so controversial sex scene. So basically there is this kind of like sex scene in the book of the kids. They kind of have an orgy, and it's kind of like a way of bonding and, you know, bringing the Losers Club together after defeating Pennywise. And basically Beverly gives her virginity to each one of the boys, and it is a way of closing kind of like this bond between them, and it's kind of like a promise that if Pennywise ever comes back again, they will come back and also kill it again. Now let's talk about it itself, because it is way more than what we can see in the movie. Basically, it is a demonic entity that feeds on fear. So he likes to come to Earth to feed because we have the ability of feel fear, and that is apparently very tasty to him. He can take many forms. We can see in the book that he turns into a bird, into a werewolf, he turns into a leopard, he even turns into a mummy in the book, and we also see a little reference on the mummy, which is one of the things that Ben was scared of, and we can see that reference at the very end battle between all of the kids and Pennywise. Andy Muschietti decided to keep Pennywise as the most seen, you know, kind of face of it, as well as we had in the TV series. This is also the common, you know, face of it that every kid sees, apart from their own fear. So it does make sense, you know, that they keep it as the main face for it throughout the movie, and I absolutely love the new image that they gave to Pennywise. And I think it was very smart that they decided to step away from the image that Tim Curry had for his Pennywise, and they decided to create something very different. I think that works perfectly, because I think it would have been a mistake to try to copy exactly the Pennywise from Tim Curry. That is a very memorable Pennywise. Everyone knows Pennywise as Tim Curry, and I love that they went through a different approach. Needless to say that Bill Skarsgård has done an amazing job. The way his eyes move, the way he drools when he's in the sewers and he meets Georgie, the way he talks, the way he moves, and the combination between makeup and CGI is perfect. I love the editing, I love all of Pennywise scenes. But what is actually it? It lives actually in a so-called macroverse, which is an alternate universe, and he has no real form. He's basically a mass of some orange lights. And we can see references to these lights through the whole movie. We start from the very beginning when Georgie goes to check in the basement for the walks that he needs for his boat. We see these two lights in one of the shelves. We also see those kind of lights when Georgie finds Pennywise on the sewers. Also when he comes out of the water in that super awesome basement scene where he tries to hunt Billy with his brother and he comes out of the water, you can also see those eyes there. And towards the end of the movie, when he gets Beverly and he stares at her, he opens his mouth and she can see inside of him these three orange lights, and that is what actually it is. Also, the kids in the book, they don't really float, like literally float up in the air like in the movie towards the end. Actually, in the book, they float in the sense that they are floating over the water. Basically, all of Stephen King's books are kind of based in the same universe, and the thing that he created is something so-called the turtle. We see some reference to the turtle when Bill steps on this kind of like Lego turtle, and also when they are swimming on this lake, and they also mention that someone has seen a turtle. Only Stephen King fans and fans of the book will get these references. This is basically based on a Stephen King mythology where this big turtle basically throws up, and that's the world, like she throws up the world, and then she carries this world on her shoulders, like on her on the back of her shell. And the good part about the turtle is that she is able to help the kids, and Billy kind of like in the book specifically, you know, really goes to the turtle to get the strength that he needs to defeat it. Of course, we don't see anything of this turtle and this multiverse and thing in the movie. It would be really complicated to explain everything in just 2 movies. But I absolutely love that he did some turtle references. That is just, you know, that is just an orgasm for everyone that has read the book. I don't know, but when I was sitting there and I was getting all of these references to the book, like, I was so pleased. Like, I was so pleased, and it is definitely one of the best filmed Stephen King books. Alright, I hope that you enjoyed this kind of like movie review, kind of like talk about the movie. Let me know if you like this kind of videos, because I'm planning on doing more movie reviews in the future. Let me know down below what you thought about the movie. You know, let me know about, do you like Stephen King, what you thought about the TV series and the new It movie. What is your favorite Stephen King story? Please remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more coffee times. The links to all my social media are also down below, and I hope to see you guys in the next coffee time. Bye!